Has Nancy Pelosi been an effective speaker?
Well, not by any standard legislatively. There's a lot to admire about Nancy Pelosi. She's incredibly tenacious. She takes a position and sticks with it. In my opinion, she usually sticks with the position that's wrong, and I think she's particularly doing that on energy. But I read in Time magazine the other day, it may have been stories like that have been in both of your publications as well, that this Congress has passed fewer laws than any in the last 30 years. We finally today passed one appropriations bill this week. It's the 1950 was the last time the Congress hadn't passed an appropriations bill, but not a single one by the end of July, and we hadn't. You know, Time magazine pointed out 30-year low of the 260 bills that went to the president's desk, which sounds like a lot if you're outside of Washington, but when you think about what was in them, you and I know it's a 30-year low, and 74 of those 30 bills, of those 260 bills, were naming post offices. A bunch of the bills were things like declaring National Watermelon Month, and one of my favorites was designating dirt as a important natural resource. Sort of spend a lot of time on the obvious. You'd have a hard time getting beyond two handfuls of legislation this Congress has passed that really mattered, and the Speaker, more than anybody else, has to accept responsibility for that.
Beginning this week, Congress takes their 5-week annual summer break, but when you come back, some Republicans have suggested that the idea of possibly voting against a continuing budget resolution that would fund the government for the next year, unless Democrats agree to lift a ban on offshore drilling. If they did this, it would essentially shut down the government. Is this something that you would support, this tactic?
Well, I certainly wouldn't see it that way. How I would see that, you know, there are two bans in the appropriations process, and you know, you're watching this. Some people know exactly what that means. Others wonder, well, how do you, in the money spending process, ban something? And essentially, so you can't spend a penny to lease any of the offshore drilling rights or any of the shale oil drilling rights in the West, or offshore drilling rights in the Atlantic or Pacific. And so that's a ban on those in the bill. That ban runs out September the 30th. It's not my fault we don't have an Interior Appropriations bill that has already taken care of this problem. As far as I'm concerned, October 1, we should be able to begin the leasing process of drilling and mining in both of those areas, going after American supply. Now, whether Democrats would shut down the whole government rather than let those two things happen is really the question, as opposed to whether Republicans would, you know, that only lasts through September the 30th, and they haven't done anything to extend it. So I'm assuming it's done.
But would the public blame the Democrats or blame the Republicans for shutting down the government?
In this environment where energy is the most important issue and the only thing you're fighting over is whether you allow drilling, we'd have to see. I'd rather be on the side of that wanted to go after American energy sources than the side that didn't.